Wherever Rabbi Say, we're back with part 2 of our Tuba of program. Let's see, we're talking about the Jewish press, and we're talking about the story of England. It's going from bad to worse with the schools. And I remember a number of years ago, I went to Eretz Yisrael. I went to England. I was in England twice. Once I went to protest against a case of pedophilia in Stamford Hill. There's a pedophile there who did serious damage, and I went to be moicha. Another time, I was there in passing through England. I appeared on a Goyish TV program, and I met with one or two Jewish rabbanim, with Haredi rabbanim, but a lot of rabbanim I couldn't get to meet with about the homosexual agenda 5, 6, 7 years ago. And now the chickens have come home to roost because, you know, everybody's not interested. Same garbage that's taking place in America took place in England, and now we see what's happening here. You hear the Board of Deputies, a Jewish organization, says, we are concerned about the report's hostility to faith schools. The report depicts faith schools as part of the problem rather than part of the solution to achieving community cohesion. Giving children a strong grounding in their faith does not imply any contradiction with integration. Many Jewish schools have a strong record of promoting community cohesion. He added, we disagree that the state should dictate the religious studies component taught by faith schools. You hear? They want to dictate what you're allowed to, even in Tsarist Russia. I don't know if they did that. In Nazi Germany, I don't know if they did that. Governments are not competent to enter into this area and should be limit their involvements to ensure the teaching does not promote extremism. Okay, let's go weiter. What else is in the Jewish press? An article by Rabbi Nosson Leiter, a Gewaldige community activist, a Torah activist, a big Talmid Chacham, who wrote recently in the Jewish press about the Adulterer component of this alternative healing chazarai and different things. And now he writes another article in the Jewish press demonstrating for degeneracy on Tisha B'Av by Rabbi Nosson Leiter. This appears in this week's Jewish press, which I really think people should subscribe to and purchase because they don't get this anywhere else. Shame on Hamadiyah, shame on Yated, shame on Mishpacha, shame on Ami, shame on Zman, shame on all of them that could be doing more stuff here to create an educated consumership at Chas v'Shalom. Even at this late stage of the Dvalim culture, they choose not to get involved. Ignorance is much better. This is on page 9. It says follows. This Tisha B'Av with Jews worldwide were mourning the destruction of Beis HaMikdash. The Holy Land, thousands demonstrated for the most unholy of abominations. LGBT activists chose to defile this holy day on the holy soil by demonstrating against the government for passing a surrogacy law that did not provide surrogacy benefits for same-gender couples or single men. A chutzpah, they're mavazer, the mishkevei zocha, and they're mavazer, the lesbians. A chutzpah. And initially, Benjamin Netanyahu was with them, but he received enough threats from the Haredim that the last minute he changed his view. By the way, listen to this. You know that the Jerusalem Post reported that the organizer of the protests across the country was Aguda. Aguda is Israel's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender task force. Okay? Isn't it funny that they call themselves Aguda? There's a spiritual serendipity over here. If Aguda would be doing what Aguda is supposed to be doing, it would never occur to these Rishayim, Mamzerim, Mushchosim to use the name Aguda. This is the flip side of the coin. Understand? That's what this is. Haaretz reports that the Israeli army let the soldiers partake in this, and scores of Israeli companies partook in this, the head of the Histadrut, and all kinds of American firms such as Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Apple, IBM, and all kinds of Israeli companies like SodaStream, Teva, Sarah Book Publishing, Spellophone, and all kinds of things. Praise and Chil Hashem. That's what's going on here, Rabbi Say. That's what's going on in Tisha B'Av on the day of the Churban. They were trying to say it was Sinas Chinam, you understand? But then we have the Murdic article of culture dispatches from the cultural front on page 15 in the Jewish press. And this week's Friday, July 27th, in Misparim, there's a page. OU official comes to the defense of Moshe. As we mentioned in the past, this guy Jeff Leb marched with his rainbow yarmulke in the gay parade. and he formerly worked for UJ Federation, and also he worked for the Orthodox Union, the wonderful OU. Leb enjoyed his time at the parade, and he tweeted, really enjoyed marching in my first NY Pride parade with the NYC Council, Insta, lesbian, gay, transgender, love is love, and New York City Pride Parade. So many Orthodox criticize him on Facebook, but a guy named Jake Adler, who worked for the OU since 2013, and guess what? He was previously deputy chief of staff of former New York City David. I never met a homosexual thing I didn't like Greenfield. The Oisvarf, the Avia voice. So is it any wonder? The Avia voice. It's you understand? This is the garbage that comes out of David Greenfield. You work for David Greenfield, okay? Valdik Jake. Listen to what Jake wrote on Facebook. I can't believe the thread. Honest to God, he has to bring Hashem into this. You disagree with Jeff and his belief, that's your right. Just as it's Jeff's right to hold it. He can hold the belief of Kaisun Ksubal Zachar, of Mishkaveh Zachar. It's his right. It's a right. Where's the right, Mr. Adler? The Torah, where is it? What's Sifin Shulchan Aruch? Continues Adler. This is absurd, especially from court conservatives who want less intrusion into personal lives. We're arguing with Leb on this. I can't anymore. Facebook, I can't Facebook. Oh. Question, does the Jewish community want an quote-unquote advocate who publicly defends someone who purports to be Orthodox and marches in Te'eva Pride Parade? But it gets better. There's another guy named David Lobel, L-O-B-L. David Lobel is a 33-year-old, and he went to yeshiva, Rabbi Fisher's yeshiva on Avenue I, not far from me, Derech HaTorah. He learned there, and he learned in the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael also. And this Lobel goes mounts a spirited defense. Who is this Lobel? Until 2 weeks ago, he was the chief Jewish liaison of Andrew Cuomo. A Haredi with a black yarmulke, black velvet yarmulke, it looks like in the pictures I was told. I didn't see it, but I was told. You understand what we have over here? So where is he? What's his background? He comes from Chicago. Learned in Eretz Yisrael, the Haredi yeshivas. What's his background? He worked for Ezra, Ezraini, Maginaini, Friedlander, the Einikel from the Tvur Shah, from the Heilige Liske Rebbe. Ezra asked me to mention Liske. I'm sure the Liske hierarchy is very proud of Ezra Friedlander, that he picks and chooses people like David Lobel. You understand, the Oisvarf. And they graduate from him. Simcha Eichenstein graduated from him, and he became an aide to some top Mushkis-loving politicians in New York on the state and city level. And now he's going to be our assemblyman. And we're going to see if the Hashwa of Ezra, the fruit party maker who made a party of fruits on the Rosh Hashanah for fruits when he feted, F-E-T-E, he feted, he celebrated the lesbian married city council speaker, Christine Quinn. And remember the golden oldies, Ezra and Simcha Eichenstein once went to Corey Johnson, the homosexual, before he was prominent in politics, to his birthday party. Simcha Eichenstein assures me he's not going to do anything bad. So let me tell you why I'm choshed here, because listen to what happened in the New York City Council back in March. Here's a bill from July 18th. The City Council, a bill to impose Kavanaugh, a bill to oppose Kavanaugh, and who is opposing Kavanaugh, and what were they opposing him on? Abortion, on life. Two sponsors, both of them have my name. I'm so embarrassed. One of them is Mark Levine for the Upper West Side councilman. The other one is Steve Levin from Williamsburg. Because Satmar can't be bothered with checking out what their mamzerim who are supporting them are doing. You understand? Now, there was something about the Priest for Life versus the Department of Health, and Kavanaugh voted with a certain sensitivity for religion. So that's the reason for this. But of course, Williamsburg supports this hashkasa. Our silence kills us, and it may be the cause of making more and more abortions. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I'm going to get back to that. There's another piece of legislation, an action plan to fight sexual harassment and equal employment opportunities for mushchosim. One is in the city government, and one is in general. So guess what? 48 people voted for this out of 51 councilmen, except for 3 that were absent. Good old city councilman Chaim Deutsch voted for this, even though this is going to encourage the recognition of people's transgender, and you can't discriminate, you can't this, you can't that, and then there'll be sensitivity training and everything else. And Kalman Yeager, who marched in the gay parade with Fernando Ferrer already in 2008 or something like that. So these are prime candidates for the Mushkas of the Week award, for the disgusting things they're doing. And here we have another beautiful full-page picture of, I assume it's Chaim Deutsch with Corey Johnson marching in the Israel Day Parade. Thank you, Chaim Deutsch and Corey, for getting kosher and halal food into the public schools. It's very nice. But I wonder if the price you have to pay is to show Hanifa smiling pictures with Corey, the activist homosexual head of the city council who sponsors a lot of Schmutz bills. One of the bills he sponsored. Let's see. One of the bills he sponsored. Let me see here. "48 people voted for this bill again. Our two tzaddikim voted for the bill to make a whole study of runaway and homeless youth. They asked them all kinds of questions about their gender and their likes and dislikes and their transgenderism and everything else. And that's just a slice of salami technique, because once they do that, then they'll, based on these homeless studies and everything else, they'll come up with more things to take away our freedoms and to promote the schmutz. And this is the hashchasa that Chaim Deutsch voted for, because he's against harassment and he's sympathetic, right? You're against harassment. So therefore, you have to vote for something where anybody with second head is understand is to promote the homosexual and the transgender agenda, Chaim. The same garbage again and again and again, Chaim. When are you going to run out of excuses already? Shame on you. Shame on you, my friend, but shame on you. The number 1 and number 2 things over here were gender identity, which means transgenderism, and sexual orientation is number 2. They're prioritizing gender identity, which means I'm a female in a male body. That's what it is. This is what Chaim Deutsch is voting for. In other words, we're going downhill more and more, but give us some kosher things, give us a kosher swimming pool, bread and circuses. That's what the French nobility said. When the people were getting upset in France, they wanted democracy like America, they'll give them bread and circuses. They'll give them mechleis, maybe this was in ancient Rome, bread and circuses. Forget, in France it was let them eat cake. Marie Antoinette, I'm mixing up. Bread and circuses went back to ancient Rome. You understand? And it's like a Maisa Ador of Caligula with all the perversion. And Chaim Deutsch is doing his job. He's a big contender for this week's Mushkas of the Week award. Okay? Now, this guy, David Lobel, I don't know if he's married or not. I was just thinking, maybe we could speak to, quote-unquote, Rabbi Poisik of the Beit Simchat Torah homosexual synagogue, Rabbi Fegi Maskus, that we gave him a Kriya Hashem, who wrote in the forward or something about his 6-year-old son who's transgendering, you understand, an ox, a behema, ferret. Maybe he has an older daughter or an older son or somebody who could be a shidduch for David Lobel. Or maybe he knows somebody from the community at Beit Simchat Torah, because they love him so much. Havas Yisrael. Feh. And of course, who's sponsoring, who else is pushing this bill that I just mentioned? And so it goes on and on. What did Rabbi say? I want to explain something to you. I said this a few weeks ago, and I want to amplify about this, on this subject. I believe Zephaniah 6. The Shamti Pina Samarti Aktiri Tikhi Musa. I broke big buildings. You should learn. Everything that happens really relates back to the Frum Yidden. And when the Frum Yidden don't do something proactive, then it allows hashkasa. And it would be bad enough if the Jews just turned the other cheeks. but too often they're proactive. They chanfa the Rishoyim. They vote for them. They take pictures and tweet with them. They pose in front of the Kaisel with them. Oh, Corey, the Mishkav Zachanik in front of the Kaisel. When he says, Vatoki Oretz Eschem about such Mishchosim. That's what Chaim Deutsch did. He has to do it for the community. It's the Shera discredited doctrine. We don't say anything that we can't win on. So we didn't Shepherd Solas and Shuma with all their shmutz. It's a favorish in the book. I'm holding up the book again, the Bible of Aguda and activism and Askonish, terrorism. Yes, it's all there in the book. See our previous videos. I want to tell you again. I want to remind you again, if you get a pen and paper, this is the hotline where these numbers are archived, and you can give it to your people, give it to your friends, give it to your enemies, give it to anybody. Let them call 24-6, 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900, extension 247, 656, 247, 656, 247, 656. Please spread the word. Rabbi should become a shutef. So what I'm trying to explain to you over here is you should understand that not only are we turning the other cheek, passive in the face of immorality, but worse than that, we're proactive. Halavai we would be just passive. We're proactive. Hunt for them, vote for them, support them, give money to them, etc. I wonder what Rav Moshe would have said to Rabbi Shara when he found out he was asking David Schick to do a fundraiser for Mario Cuomo 4 years after he made his homosexual garbage, which he promised even before he was elected the first time. What's the hatter for this kind of stuff? See, you asked me a question in the past. Why didn't Rav Moshe say anything to Rabbi Shara? Why didn't Rabbi Yaakov say to Rav Shara? I'm telling you a story, but did he have a yovta? I might have mentioned this again. Excuse the old man if I'm repeating myself, but it's good to hear this. Rav Avigdor Miller stood up, Erev Shavuos, a couple of years or less before he was nifta. Maybe it was 1 year before he was nifta. He said, Rabbi Levine has an important announcement to make. And he stood next to me right after the Thursday night shir. I said, everybody should come down to the city council because they are passing a very big schmutz bill. Okay? And at that time, I took the letter that I got from Moshe, and I wrote a whole letter to all the Matzah, and I mailed it to them, and I called up Rabbi Fegelstock. The wanted Rosh Yeshiva was known to be a Gavaldik Baleitza. And I said, you read my letter? You read what Moshe said? Yeah. So he tells me, what do you suggest? I was very flattered that a senior Rosh Yeshiva from the Matzah Gedolei HaTorah, a big Pikeach, a Talmud Muvik of Aaron, has to ask little pipsqueak fat Levin what I suggest. I was on it. So I told him what I suggest. Agudas Yisrael Rabbi Shara can't find in himself to be two partsufim, to tanza beid chasnis. He can't be a kanoi against solas and shuma and politicians and still expect to get favors, government favors, and zachen that he needs for Klal Yisrael. Okay. So I said, take all of the brain trust that we have of other members, lawyers, and journalists, and writers, and spokespeople, and all kinds of men and women who are very chashuv, and start a second organization called Vad L'Tznius, Vad L'Kedushas Ameinu, and that should be on the Gedolei Yisrael, the same ones or different ones, and let them do the job. Let them be good cop, bad cop. Rabbi Shel will be the good cop and the bad cop, and they won't take us for granted. They'll beat up on solas like I did when I ran against him for election. And I had fantastic results. He took his name off the gay rights bill, and he started to pour in money into the Orthodox community, much more than all the chanfarai that Rabbi Shera did to solas. Oh, you're wonderful. Oh, you're talented. Oh, you're great. Oh, we're close. Oh, it's wonderful that he did. I got more, and I can prove it. I can document it. It was in the newspaper. It was a Village Voice to the expose. I got more money and stuff from solas for the benefit of the community by fighting him, by standing up against him, by not letting him take us Haimis for granted in Haimitown, than the discredited Shera doctrine, Rabbi Shera's Chorel Vraka doctrine. We're suffering. It's a Bechia L'Doros, that doctrine. Now, an Agodist received my notification on Tisha B'Av about one of my Shera doctrine that's fallacious. He received it on Tisha B'Av, and he writes, on Tisha B'Av, unforgiven. Well, the Mishkevei Toch are talking about the Sinas Chinim, and that's why they march. But Alfi Abdullahs, when we talk about all Churbanas, Morty, we talk about all Churbanas. A big Churban is what's happening here in America and in Britain and all over the world because of this fallacious, this errant, this ill-advised, this totally discredited Rabbi Sherer Zechron Levacha doctrine. He was a gewaldige tzaddik. He was much better than me. But in this area, he was woefully wrong, and he did not have support of Gedolei Yisrael of yesteryear. Not Rav Moshe, I proved to you in the past, not Rav Aaron, not Rav Yaakov, not Rav Lezer Shach, not Rav Victor Miller, and Rav Milo B'Kodesh. So, we have to understand that we're the cause. You know why there's adulterers? A Suffolk adulterer in Lakewood, or more than one, or more than two, and in Flatbush. It's because of our people with what they did and the corruption and going and not fighting the get law. The passivity is killing us. If we don't do it, we're proactively responsible for what's happening. And that's what's going on now. Rabbi say, that's what's going on. Let's see. So I just want to mention again, Simcha Eichenstein, you see how these employment opportunities and homeless youth, we're against sexual harassment. I want to say again and again, we're giving advance warning. You see how I'm like glue on Chaim Deutsch and Kalman Yeager. I'm telling you what they're doing. All the miscreant misbehaviors that they do will reveal their cologne to the public. And every time they're nishtarish bechet and they do it again and again, they're not only fifing on Am Hashem and Teresh Hashem, they're fifing on Hashem Yisborach. And Ezra Friedlander, with your Talmidim, Simcha Eichenstein, we're going to see. If he starts to do it, we're going to blast him from day one. Stay away. Stay away from the Shmutz, Simcha. Stay far away. Don't you think you're going to be a Chaim Deutsch and a Kalman Yeager? You might well be. But that holy roller stuff that you told me, what do you mean? The chutzpah you got on your high horse, I'm choshed you, this and that. Yeah, I'm choshed you, Simcha Eichenstein. Because you went to Corey Johnson's birthday party. Which chassid or Yehudi Yezid Zaydis told you can go? Where, Eichenstein? Who gave you the heter to go to such a thing? Ezra Friedlander, the Lisker Rebbe? Rashayla Kanastira? What kind of a business is this? Chacham Eine Baroisha, Ezu Chacham Aroyas Hanoilad, Chabdeyu V'chashdeyu. We're going to be on top of these people. We're going to tell them. Now, in Hefgewelt, there was an article that was complaining heavily about the fact that they have these asifas about child molestation, and that the reason that it's happening now, they say, is because it's a moneymaker. Anything that's a moneymaker, because they get money from the government, so all of a sudden they're all on top of it. It's very upset. And you saw a lot of comments from people. So what's the truth? The truth, Rabbi Shai, I believe, is what I'm saying. First of all, Dov Heiken, years ago, when he started to deal with this child abuse, and I want to say that Dov Heiken made a meeting sponsored a meeting around 5 years ago at the Y. And he had big speakers there on child abuse. One of them was Ronnie Greenwald. And the first thing he got up and he said, we all owe a debt of gratitude to Yehuda Levin, who was 20 years in front of us, because I was dealing with the Gedolei Yisrael inside the Torah Messiah conference room years ago when there was a molester in Torah Tamima, way back in the 80s. And I got on the radio and I said in the 80s, around 86, 87, that people have to be careful because there are tens of molesters in the total of Jewish education worldwide. And I got hauled down by the Gedolei Yisrael, and I was 100% correct. It's unfortunate. I was way ahead of the curve, way ahead of the curve. You know why? Because I'm such a gadol tzaddik? No, because Rav Avigdor Miller felt this way. Rav Avigdor Miller felt this way because I was his automaton, his robot. So I was programmed. And that's why when I ran for Congress in '84, Rav Yisrael called him up. He says, "Was kann ich euch sagen? Hat Rav Avigdor Miller, hat der Betziner Rav? Did you ask enough in Minsker? Look what I accomplished by running against Solas. I Kiddush Hashem, more money for the community. Halavai, if Aguda would have done this kind of agitation. So what I'm trying to explain to you with Hefkeveld is Dov Heikind, he had uncovered at least 960, if I recall correctly, and that was years ago, molestrators. Why is there such a large amount of molestrators, as they say in Williamsburg? The answer is because of this doctrine that I told you from Zephaniah 6. Because every time we turn the other cheek, we're passive as they pass another bill, and we're proactive because Chaim Deutsch and Kalman Yeager pass more and more bills, and Chas v'Shalom Simcha Eichesti will do the same. Even one bill is one bill too many. You know what happens? There's more molestations, there's more schmutz, there's more znus, there's more adultery. So with all due respect to Hefgewelt, government money I hear, government money I hear, I'm not saying your cheshbon isn't a cheshbon, but lemaisa, we do have a huge problem with ever-increasing molestations. And we have a huge problem with more and more divorce. And we have a huge problem with Suffolk Mamzerim and Suffolk Aces Ish. The Suffolk is carved to Avada in many cases. And it goes on and on because it's a cause and effect. If we're passive, we create a lot of problems. But if we're proactive, we create more. When they did not proactively doing this, and they're letting ladies tanzabay the chasna sometimes in court, or after they go to court, then they come to Bezdin. The Bezdin says, no, it's over. The court already made the custody and the money, so give her a get. It should be a gezeira, it's a shasashmad. If she goes to court, she shouldn't get a get. That's what Rabbi Akiva Eger says. He says, you don't need a heter me'arabonim. You don't need to be mashlish a get. A Moiseris does not get, in Arkoyas, doesn't get a get. Okay, the Marsham says you should still do it with a heter me'arabonim. But the Batei should be busy doing this. It's a statistical fact that 80-85% of the women are the ones requesting the get. So the men are such juliks, they're also terrible. What's going on? So this kind of stuff, believe it or not, it leads to mamzeris and adultery. And the schmutz from turning the other cheek to transgenderism and homosexuality and not protesting, it leads to more molestations and gezeris against bris milah. When are you going to get the point? You hear this hashkafa from a shaita, the Navi shaita Yehuda Levin. Why? Because I'm such a pikeach. How come you didn't hear from Gedel Yisrael? This was Atayra on Pinchas. When it comes to morality and immorality, throughout the generations, even plain people, commoners, like Pinchas, it was Kodim, he was elevation. That's the way it is if you have rebbes who taught you. I was plucked out of obscurity by Rav Avigdor Miller and by many other Gedolei Yisrael, B'Ksavim Baal Peh. And that's why I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I'm begging you. Mother Rabbi said, I want to give you again the hotline numbers. Again, if you want to do it on the internet, you have a head of the internet, YouTube 11, LEVIN, the number 11. And if you want to do it on the hotline, please pass along the number 641-715-3900, extension 24, 7656, extension 24, 7656. Please spread the word. People, if you have WhatsApp, you could WhatsApp me and you have a large WhatsApp group, I want to give a shout out to a man by the name of Frankel, a Lubavitcher who runs an art gallery in Crown Heights. I want to give him a shout out and thank him. He says he has 3,500 people on his WhatsApp and he's going to let them know about my program that I'm still on, etc., etc. You can become a shutef, want to spread the word. We want to make the 2,000 or 3,000 people a week should see the videos, and then we'll be able to be the tail that wags the dog. We can change things around. Remember what I told you last week with the billboards. The B'nai Torah in Lakewood hold the key for Klal Yisrael. The B'nai Torah in Lakewood start to become educated. They spend an hour a week on activism. Reb Moshe, I remember in the early 70s, Reb Moshe came down to Pirchei Agudas Yisrael and he spoke about Ben Isman. We have to donate meiser of our time to be makara for my kids and take them out of public school and try to get them to yeshiva. If Reb Moshe was around today, when he was so stark, when I got the letter from him in the mid-1980s about fighting for morality and Lamalis Ulam Kol Yemei hearing Shaligay rights to Mitzvah Shabagufay, all the days of the hearing, Moshe would have said to the B'nai Torah, because I'm bringing you a raya. He said it in those days. He said, you're allowed to leave the base medrash to go down to protest in City Hall, even if you're a Kol Yungaman or a Ben Torah. He didn't say you have to be, he said you're allowed to. And that was 30 years or more ago. almost 40 years ago, when it's much, much, much worse now. If the B'nai Torah in Lakewood would become educated, they spend an hour pressuring Aaron Kotler, pressuring Rosh Yeshivas, asking probing questions to Rabbanim. They would start to do things in Lakewood with the politicians. They would start to do things in New York. They would contact their counterparts in Eretz Yisrael today with the internet, with the phones, with the hotlines, and we could have a strong force to stand up for Kedusha or morality. Ma'ariv Rabbeisai, Tu B'Av, today is the day, the way things were meant to be. It's Koydem Hachet, it's a new beginning. It's Kibbor Moyed, it's the ultimate Yichud and Zivug of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael before the creation of the world. And it's the Zivug of Chassav HaKalah. If we want to have more bias Nemon Yisrael, we got to stand up against the immorality of the Shmutz, and the common denominator is what's going on with the Gittin, the breaking of the marriages. Take some advice, even from a Novi Shaita, and let's start to demand that before people get married, they have to have courses and they have to have mashpiyim, and let's demand things of our Gedolim and our Rabbonim, and in Yirtzeh Hashem, we could be Zoicha, Taka, this very Tu B'Av in the near future, we should be Zoicha, Kibbor Moyed, the Moyed should come, Mashiach should come, and we should be able to celebrate and return Lahagza Ater Yoshna. Until then, a good Shabbos, a good Tamid.